Hello and welcome. First up, it's a fun idea if you comment your location. Thanks a lot. Remember to like and subscribe. Let's get comfy and dive in. I get home late after a long day at work. The house is unusually quiet. No sounds from the TV, no dinner smells from the kitchen. I drop my keys on the table and shrug off my coat. I call out, "Susan?" But there's no answer. My name is Jack, and I'm in my late 30s. I'm an accountant at a mid-size firm. I've been married to Susan for 10 years. We don't have kids, and lately, it feels like we're drifting apart. Susan has been distracted, often on her phone, and coming home late. I head to the living room, hoping she's just in the shower or maybe out for a quick errand. The TV is on, but the screen is frozen. I squint at the image. It's Susan. She's in bed, but she's not alone. My heart stops. I grab the remote and press play. The video starts and my world shatters. Susan is with another man. They're in our bed, and the man looks directly at the camera. He smirks and says, "Your wife likes big ones." My stomach churns and I feel a surge of rage and betrayal. I call Susan, but her phone is off. I pace the living room trying to calm down, but it's impossible. How could she do this to me? I storm through the house looking for any sign of her. In the bedroom, I find a note on the bed. It reads, "Enjoy the video. There's more to come." My hands tremble as I read the note. What does he mean, more to come? My mind races with questions and fears. I feel a mix of anger, hurt, and confusion. I sit on the edge of the bed, my head in my hands. I need to figure out what's going on. I need to confront Susan and find out who this man is. I need answers. I can't just sit here and do nothing. I grab my phone and call a private investigator I know. His name is Tom, and he's good at digging up dirt. "Tom, it's Jack. I need your help," I say, my voice shaking. "What's going on, Jack?" Tom asks, his tone concerned. I explain the situation, the video, the note. Tom listens carefully and then says, "I'll look into it. We'll get to the bottom of this." I hang up and take a deep breath. I feel a little better knowing Tom is on the case, but I'm still reeling from the shock. I need to clear my head. I walk back to the living room and replay the video. I study the man's face, trying to remember if I've seen him before. He looks familiar, but I can't place him. The rest of the evening is a blur. I try to distract myself with TV, but my mind keeps going back to the video. Every time I close my eyes, I see Susan with him. I feel sick. Everything seemed ordinary when I walked in, but now my life is turned upside down. This one event has completely changed everything. I need to find Susan and get some answers, and I need to make that man pay. I wake up the next morning with a pounding headache. I barely slept. Images of the video replay in my mind. Susan and that man. I can't get his face out of my head. I check my phone for any messages, but there's nothing from Susan. I'm worried, angry, and confused. I need to take action. I call Tom, the private investigator. "Any news?" I ask. "Not yet, but I've started digging. Give me some time," he replies. I hang up and decide to call in sick to work. I need to focus on this. I make myself a coffee and sit at the kitchen table, trying to piece things together. Susan's been acting strange for months. Late nights, secretive phone calls. I thought maybe it was work stress or something personal she didn't want to talk about. I never imagined this. I decide to search the house. Maybe I'll find something that gives me more clues. I start in the bedroom. I go through her drawers, her closet. I find nothing unusual. I check her nightstand and find her phone charger, but no phone. She must have taken it with her. I move to the living room and look through her purse. It's still here, which means she left in a hurry. Inside, I find her wallet, makeup, and a small notebook. I flip through it, but see only shopping lists and reminders. Nothing helpful. I sit down, feeling defeated. I need to talk to her. I need to hear her side of the story. I grab my phone and try calling her again. This time it rings. She picks up on the third ring. "Jack," she says, her voice shaky. "Susan, where are you?" I demand. "I'm at a friend's. I needed some time to think," she replies. "We need to talk. Now," I say firmly. "I know. I'm sorry, Jack. I'll come home. Give me an hour," she says. I agree and hang up. My mind races with what I'll say to her, how I'll confront her. I feel a mix of anger and sadness. I love her, but I can't ignore what she's done. An hour later, I hear the front door open. Susan walks in, looking tired and worried. She sits across from me at the kitchen table. "Jack, I'm so sorry," she starts, tears in her eyes. "Why, Susan, why did you do it?" I ask, trying to keep my voice steady. "It started a few months ago. His name is Mark. We met at a work event. At first it was just talking, then it turned into something more," she explains. "Why didn't you tell me? Why keep it a secret?" I ask, feeling a pang of betrayal. "I was scared. I didn't want to hurt you. And then things got out of control," she says, wiping her tears. "What do you mean, out of control?" I ask, leaning forward. "Mark started to threaten me. He said if I didn't keep seeing him, he'd ruin our lives. He has more videos, Jack. He said he'd release them if I didn't comply," she admits. My heart sinks. "So he's blackmailing you?" "Yes." I didn't know what to do. I felt trapped, she says, her voice breaking. I take a deep breath, trying to process everything. "We need to go to the police." "No, Jack. He said he'd hurt us if we did." "We can't trust him," she pleads. "Then we'll find another way. I've already hired a private investigator. We'll get to the bottom of this," I assure her. She nods, looking relieved but still scared. "Thank you, Jack. I'm so sorry for everything." We sit in silence for a moment, the weight of the situation pressing down on us. I feel a mix of anger at Mark and a desire to protect Susan. Despite her betrayal, I can't just abandon her. The next few days are tense. Tom updates me regularly, but there's little progress. Susan and I try to act normal, but it's hard. The fear of what Mark might do next hangs over us like a dark cloud. One evening, as I'm checking my email, I get a message from an unknown sender. The subject line reads, "Payment due." My hands tremble as I open it. It's from Mark. "Jack, you know who I am. I want $50,000 or the next video goes public. You have 1 week. Don't try anything stupid." I feel a surge of anger. I show the email to Susan. She looks terrified. "What are we going to do?" she asks, her voice trembling. "We're not paying him. We'll figure something out," I say, trying to sound confident. I call Tom and forward him the email. "We need to find this guy, and fast," I tell him. Tom agrees and promises to ramp up his efforts. Meanwhile, I start looking into our finances. $50,000 is a lot of money, and even if we wanted to pay, it would cripple us. The next day, Tom calls with a lead. I found an address linked to Mark. It's a rundown apartment building on the other side of town. I'm heading there now. "I'm coming with you," I say. We meet at the location. It's a dingy building with graffiti on the walls. We head inside, and Tom leads the way to Mark's apartment. He knocks on the door, and after a moment, a man opens it. It's Mark. "What do you want?" he sneers, recognizing me. "We need to talk," I say, trying to keep my voice steady. "About what?" he asks, crossing his arms. "The videos. The blackmail. It needs to stop," I say firmly. He laughs. "You think you can just ask me to stop?" "We're willing to negotiate," Tom interjects, trying to calm the situation. Mark eyes us suspiciously. "All right, come in." We enter the small, cluttered apartment. The air smells stale, and I can see various electronic devices scattered around. We sit on the worn-out couch, and Mark takes a seat across from us. "What's your offer?" he asks, leaning back. "We can't give you $50,000. But we can give you something else," I say. "And what would that be?" he asks, raising an eyebrow. "Evidence that could ruin you." "We know about your past, Mark. We know what you've done," Tom says, his voice cold. Mark's expression changes. "You're bluffing." "Try us," Tom says, pulling out a folder. Inside are documents detailing Mark's criminal history, including charges that were never fully prosecuted. Mark's face pales. "How did you get that?" "We have our ways," Tom says. "Now you can either back off or we can make sure this gets to the right people." Mark glares at us, weighing his options. Finally, he speaks. "Fine. I'll delete the videos. But if you try to screw me over, I'll make sure you regret it. Deal, Tom says, standing up. But remember, we're watching you. We leave the apartment, and I feel a mix of relief and apprehension. We've bought ourselves some time, but I know this isn't over. The next few days are a blur of anxiety and waiting. Susan and I try to go about our daily lives, but the tension is palpable. We avoid talking about Mark, focusing instead on rebuilding our trust. It's not easy, but we're trying. One evening, I get another email from Mark. It's a video file. My heart sinks as I open it. It's another recording of Susan and him, but this time, there's no mocking message. Just a look of desperation on Susan's face as she glances at the camera. I call Tom immediately. He's still at it, I say, my voice shaking. Don't worry, we'll handle this, Tom reassures me. I feel a sense of determination. I won't let Mark ruin our lives. I start researching ways to track his online activity, hoping to find a way to stop him for good. Meanwhile, Tom continues his investigation, digging deeper into Mark's connections and activities. One night, as I'm working late, I hear a noise outside. I look out the window and see a figure lurking near the house. My heart races. I grab a baseball bat and head outside, ready to confront whoever it is. "Who's there?" I shout, my voice echoing in the night. The figure steps into the light, and I see it's Mark. He's holding a small device in his hand. "I told you not to try anything stupid," he says, his voice menacing. "What do you want?" I demand, gripping the bat tightly. "I want my money, and I want you to back off," he says, stepping closer. "Leave us alone, or I'll call the police," I threaten. He laughs. "Go ahead, but remember, I still have the videos." I feel a surge of anger and fear. I can't let him control us anymore. I take a deep breath and make a decision. "We'll pay you. Just give us some time." He smirks. "You have 1 week. Don't disappoint me." He walks away, and I feel a mix of relief and dread. I know we can't trust him, but I need to buy us more time. I call Tom and update him on the situation. He assures me he's close to finding a... I wake up the next morning, feeling the weight of the previous night's encounter with Mark. The threat hangs over me like a dark cloud. I can't let him control us any longer. I decide to take action. I call Tom, my private investigator, and tell him we need to meet. We agree to meet at a cafe downtown. I arrive at the cafe and spot Tom sitting at a corner table. He's sipping his coffee, looking deep in thought. I join him, and he looks up, his expression serious. "We need to step up our game, Tom. Mark is getting more aggressive," I say. Tom nods. "I've been digging deeper into Mark's background. He has a long history of manipulation and blackmail. We need to find something that will stop him for good." "What do you suggest?" I ask, eager for a solution. "We need to get him on tape, admitting to everything. It's risky, but it might be our best shot," Tom says. I feel a surge of determination. "Let's do it. How do we set it up?" Tom explains the plan. We'll lure Mark into a meeting under the guise of negotiating the payment. We'll wire me up with a hidden microphone and record the entire conversation. It's dangerous, but I'm willing to take the risk. Later that evening, I tell Susan about the plan. She looks worried, but agrees that it's our best option. "Just be careful, Jack. Mark is dangerous," she says, her voice trembling. The next day, I call Mark and arrange a meeting. He agrees, and we set a time and place. Tom and I spend the next few hours preparing. He outfits me with a hidden microphone and goes over the plan again. I feel a mix of anxiety and determination. This has to work. I arrive at the meeting spot, a secluded park, just as the sun is setting. I see Mark waiting by a bench. I take a deep breath and approach him. "Jack, good to see you," Mark says with a smirk. "Let's get this over with," I reply, trying to keep my voice steady. We sit on the bench, and I start the conversation. "I have the money, but I need to know this will be the end of it. No more videos, no more threats." Mark leans back, his eyes glinting in the fading light. "I'll consider it. But you know, Jack, it's hard to trust anyone these days." I try to keep him talking, hoping he'll slip up. "Look, I just want this to be over. Susan and I need to move on with our lives. He laughs. Move on? After what she did? Do you really think that's possible? My anger flares, but I keep my cool. We're willing to pay. Just leave us alone. Mark's expression hardens. Fine. But if I get even a hint that you're trying to double-cross me, those videos go public. And believe me, there's more where those came from. I feel a chill run down my spine, but I stay focused. Agreed. But I need something from you, a guarantee that this will be the end. He eyes me suspiciously. What kind of guarantee? An admission, on tape, that you'll delete everything and leave us alone, I say, my heart pounding. He looks at me for a long moment, then finally nods. Fine, but this better not be a trick. I pull out my phone and hit record. Say it. Mark leans in close, his voice low. I, Mark, agree to delete all the videos and leave Jack and Susan alone. This will be the end of it. I stop the recording and feel a surge of relief. We have him. But just as I'm about to stand up, Mark grabs my arm. Remember, Jack, if you cross me, you'll regret it. I pull my arm free and walk away, my heart racing. I head straight to Tom, who's waiting nearby. We listen to the recording, and it's clear. We've got what we need. Over the next few days, Tom and I work on building a case. We gather all the evidence we have on Mark and prepare to take it to the police. Susan and I are on edge, but we feel a glimmer of hope. This nightmare might finally be over. One evening, as we're having dinner, I get a call from Tom. Jack, we've got a problem. Mark's been tipped off. He's on the run. My heart sinks. What do we do? We need to find him before he disappears completely. I have a few leads. Meet me at the office, Tom says. I tell Susan what's happening, and she looks terrified. Be careful, Jack. I can't lose you. I kiss her and head out, determined to see this through. I meet Tom at his office, and we start following the leads. It's a tense, exhausting process, but we finally get a break. Mark's been spotted at a motel on the outskirts of town. We drive there, our nerves on edge. We park a little way off and approach the motel quietly. Tom has a plan. We'll confront Mark and get him to come with us to the police. It's risky, but we don't have much choice. We find Mark's room and knock on the door. There's a moment of silence, then he opens the door. His eyes widen when he sees us. What the hell do you want? He snarls. Mark, it's over. We have everything we need. Come with us to the police and maybe you'll get a deal, Tom says. Mark laughs bitterly. You think I'm just going to walk away with you? You're more delusional than I thought. He tries to slam the door, but Tom forces it open. A struggle ensues, and I feel a rush of adrenaline. I grab Mark and push him against the wall. Enough, Mark. It's over, I say, my voice shaking. He glares at me, his expression full of hatred. You'll regret this, Jack. You and Susan both. We manage to subdue him and drag him to the car. The drive to the police station is tense, but I feel a sense of relief. We've finally got him. At the station, we hand over all the evidence to the detectives. They take our statements and assure us that Mark will be charged with blackmail and other crimes. I feel a weight lift off my shoulders. This nightmare is finally coming to an end. The next few days are a whirlwind of police interviews and meetings with lawyers. Susan and I try to rebuild our lives, but it's not easy. The scars run deep and trust is hard to regain. One evening, as we're sitting on the couch, Susan turns to me. Jack, I'm so sorry for everything. I never meant for any of this to happen. I take her hand. I know, Susan. We'll get through this, together. We sit in silence for a moment, the weight of the past few months pressing down on us. But for the first time, I feel a sense of hope. We've faced the worst, and we're still standing. As the trial date approaches, the tension mounts. Mark's lawyer tries to discredit us, but the evidence is overwhelming. The recordings, the threats, everything points to his guilt. The courtroom is filled with a mix of anxiety and anticipation. On the day of the trial, Susan and I sit in the front row, holding hands. The prosecutor presents our case with precision, and I feel a sense of pride and relief. When I'm called to the stand, I recount everything that happened. My voice is steady, but inside, I'm trembling. Mark's lawyer tries to rattle me, but I hold my ground. The truth is on our side. When Susan takes the stand, she's strong and composed. Her testimony is heartfelt and sincere, and I see the jury's empathy shift towards us. The trial lasts for days, and each moment is filled with tension. But finally, the jury reaches a verdict. Mark is found guilty on all charges. The relief I feel is overwhelming. Susan and I embrace, tears of joy and relief streaming down our faces. As we leave the courthouse, I feel a sense of closure. This chapter of our lives is finally over. We still have a lot of healing to do, but we're on the right path. We've faced the worst, and we've come out stronger. Back at home, Susan and I sit on the couch, holding each other. "We did it," she whispers. "Yeah, we did," I reply, feeling a sense of peace. We have a long road ahead, but for the first time in months, I feel hopeful. We've faced the darkness, and we've emerged into the light, and together, we'll keep moving forward, one step at a time. The trial is set to begin in a week, and the tension in the house is unbearable. Susan and I hardly speak, each of us lost in our thoughts. I spend my days poring over the evidence with Tom, preparing for what feels like the fight of our lives. Nights are the worst. I lie awake, thinking about the videos, the threats, and what Mark might do next. I can't shake the feeling that something terrible is about to happen. One night, Susan comes into the bedroom wearing a silk nightgown. She looks beautiful, but I can see the fear in her eyes. She sits on the edge of the bed and takes my hand. "Jack, I'm scared," she whispers. "I know." "We'll get through this," I say, trying to reassure her. She leans in, and I can feel her trembling. "I need to feel close to you. I need to know we're still together in this." I nod, pulling her into my arms. We make love, slow and tender, trying to find some solace in each other. It's a brief escape from the nightmare, but as soon as it's over, reality crashes back in. We lie there in silence, the weight of what's to come pressing down on us. The next morning, I get a call from Tom. "We've got a problem, Jack. Mark's lawyer is going to try to discredit Susan. They're going to bring up her past." "What past?" I ask, my heart sinking. "She had a relationship with Mark years ago, before you two met. They're going to paint her as a willing participant, not a victim," Tom explains. I feel a surge of anger. "Why didn't she tell me?" "She probably thought it wouldn't matter. But now it does," Tom says. I hang up and confront Susan. "Why didn't you tell me about Mark?" She looks shocked. "I didn't think it mattered. It was a long time ago. I didn't know he would come back into my life like this." "It matters now. They're going to use it against us," I say, my voice rising. She starts to cry. "I'm sorry, Jack. I didn't mean for any of this to happen." I take a deep breath, trying to calm down. "We need to be honest with each other, Susan. No more secrets." She nods, wiping her tears. "I promise. No more secrets." The week leading up to the trial is a blur of preparation and anxiety. We meet with our lawyer, go over our testimonies, and try to anticipate every move Mark's defense might make. The pressure is immense, but I try to stay focused. This is our chance to end this nightmare once and for all. The day of the trial arrives, and we head to the courthouse. The atmosphere is tense, and I can feel the eyes of the spectators on us as we walk in. We sit at the front, waiting for the proceedings to begin. My heart is pounding, and I can see the fear in Susan's eyes. The trial begins, and the prosecution presents its case. They lay out the evidence, the videos, the threats, everything. It's a strong case, but I know the defense will try to tear it apart. When it's Susan's turn to testify, she's visibly nervous. She takes the stand, and our lawyer asks her to recount everything. She tells her story, her voice trembling but steady. She talks about how Mark came back into her life, how he threatened her, and how she felt trapped. The defense attorney stands up, a smug look on his face. "Mrs. Smith, isn't it true that you had a relationship with Mr. Mark years ago?" Susan glances at me, then nods. Yes, but that was a long time ago. It has nothing to do with what he did to me now. The attorney smirks. So, you're saying you had no feelings for him? That you were completely unwilling? Yes. He manipulated and threatened me, Susan insists. The attorney continues to press her, trying to make her look like a willing participant. It's painful to watch, but Susan holds her ground. When it's my turn to testify, I take a deep breath and step up to the stand. I recount everything, my voice steady. I tell them about the threats, the videos, the fear. I try to convey how this has torn our lives apart. The cross-examination is brutal. The defense attorney tries to make me look like an overreacting husband, someone who can't accept that his wife might have had a past. But I stay focused, determined to get the truth out. The trial drags on for days, each moment filled with tension. We spend our evenings going over the day's events, trying to stay one step ahead of the defense. It's exhausting, but I know we have to keep fighting. One night, as we're lying in bed, Susan turns to me. What if they don't believe us? What if he gets away with it? I take her hand. They'll believe us. We have the truth on our side. She nods, but I can see the doubt in her eyes. I wish I could be more confident, but the fear is always there, lurking in the back of my mind. The final day of the trial arrives, and the tension is unbearable. The prosecution and defense make their closing arguments, and then it's up to the jury. We sit in silence, waiting for the verdict. My heart is pounding, and I can barely breathe. Finally, the jury files back into the courtroom. The foreman stands up, and my heart feels like it's about to burst. We find the defendant, Mark, guilty on all charges. Relief floods through me. I turn to Susan, and she's crying, tears of joy and relief. We embrace, holding each other tightly. It's over. The nightmare is finally over. As we leave the courthouse, I feel a sense of closure. Mark is going to prison, and we can finally start to rebuild our lives. It won't be easy, but we have each other, and that's enough. In the days following the trial, Susan and I focus on healing. We go to counseling, trying to rebuild the trust that was shattered. It's a slow process, but we're making progress. Each day feels a little bit lighter, a little bit brighter. One evening, as we're sitting on the couch, Susan turns to me. I've been thinking, Jack. Maybe we should move. Start fresh somewhere new. I nod, considering her words. That might be a good idea. A new place, a new beginning. We start looking at houses in different neighborhoods, excited about the prospect of a fresh start. It feels like a new chapter in our lives, a chance to leave the past behind. As we pack up our old house, I come across the videos that Mark sent. I hold them in my hands, feeling a mix of anger and sadness. Susan comes up behind me and places a hand on my shoulder. Let's burn them, she says softly. I nod, and we take the videos outside. We light a fire in the backyard, watching as the tapes burn. It feels cathartic, like we're finally letting go of the past. With Mark in prison and the videos destroyed, we start to feel a sense of peace. We move into our new house, and it feels like a fresh start. The nightmares still come sometimes, but they're less frequent. We're healing, slowly but surely. One night, as we're lying in bed, Susan turns to me. Thank you, Jack, for standing by me, for fighting for us. I take her hand and squeeze it. We're in this together, Susan, always. As we drift off to sleep, I feel a sense of hope. We've been through hell, but we've come out stronger, and together we can face anything. The days turn into weeks, and the weeks into months. Life starts to feel normal again. We laugh more, worry less. We're rebuilding our lives, one day at a time. The scars are still there, but they're healing. Susan and I talk about the future, about starting a family. It feels like a new beginning, a chance to build something beautiful out of the ashes of our past. We know it won't be easy, but we're ready to face it together. As I look at Susan, I feel a sense of gratitude. We've been through so much, but we've come out stronger. And I know, no matter what happens, we'll face it together. The trial was the culmination of our struggle, the peak of our tension. But now, we're moving forward, step by step, towards a brighter future. And I know with Susan by my side, we can face anything. The trial is behind us, and Mark is locked away. It should feel like the end, but the scars run deep. Susan and I are trying to rebuild, but it's a slow, painful process. Trust is fragile, and the memories of what happened still haunt us. We move into our new house. It's a fresh start, but the past lingers like a shadow. We unpack boxes, setting up our new life piece by piece. The house is quiet, a stark contrast to the chaos of the past few months. One evening, Susan comes into the living room. She's wearing a simple dress, but it hugs her curves in a way that makes my heart race. She sits beside me, her hand on my leg. "Jack, I've been thinking," she says, her voice soft. "Maybe it's time we focus on us. Really focus." I nod, feeling a mix of hope and fear. I agree. We need to move forward. She leans in, her lips brushing mine. "I love you, Jack, and I want to make this work." We kiss, slow and deep. It's like we're reconnecting, finding our way back to each other. The kiss turns passionate, and soon we're making love, trying to find solace in each other. It's intense, filled with a need to heal and reclaim what we've lost. Afterwards, we lie in bed, holding each other. "We'll get through this, Susan. Together," I say, my voice steady. "I know we will," she replies, her head resting on my chest. The next day, I call Tom. "Mark's gone, but we're still dealing with the fallout. Any advice?" "Focus on the future, Jack. You've got each other. That's what matters," he says. I hang up, feeling a sense of determination. Susan and I will rebuild. We'll create something new out of the ruins of our past. We start going to counseling. It's hard, but it helps. We talk about our fears, our hopes, our dreams. We learn to communicate, to trust each other again. Each session brings us closer, helping us heal. One night, after a particularly intense session, Susan and I sit on the porch, watching the sunset. "I feel like we're finally moving forward," she says, her hand in mine. "We are," I agree. "We've been through hell, but we're stronger for it." As the weeks pass, we start to find a new normal. We laugh more, worry less. We go on dates, take walks, enjoy each other's company. It feels like we're rediscovering each other, building a new foundation for our marriage. One evening, Susan suggests we go away for a weekend. Just the two of us. No distractions. I agree, and we book a cabin in the mountains. It's peaceful, a perfect escape. We spend our days hiking, exploring, and our nights wrapped in each other's arms. It's a chance to reconnect, to focus on us without the weight of the past. As we sit by the fire one night, Susan looks at me, her eyes filled with love. "I feel like we're finally healing, Jack, like we're finding our way back to each other." I take her hand, squeezing it gently. "We are, Susan, and I'm not letting go." We make love that night, slow and tender. It's not just about physical pleasure, but about healing, about reclaiming what was almost lost. We fall asleep wrapped in each other's arms, feeling a sense of peace we haven't felt in a long time. When we return home, we feel renewed, ready to face whatever comes next. We start making plans for the future, talking about starting a family, about building a life together. One day, Susan comes home with a surprise. She hands me a small, wrapped box. "Open it," she says, smiling. I unwrap it, finding a set of baby booties inside. My heart skips a beat. "Are you?" She nods, tears in her eyes. "Yes, Jack. We're having a baby." I pull her into my arms, feeling a surge of joy and hope. This is the start of something beautiful, Susan. A new chapter. As the months pass, we prepare for the baby's arrival. It feels like a new beginning, a chance to create something wonderful out of the ashes of our past. We paint the nursery, buy baby clothes, and talk about names. Each moment is filled with hope and anticipation. One evening, as we're sitting on the couch, Susan looks at me, her eyes shining. "I'm so grateful for you, Jack, for standing by me, for fighting for us." I take her hand, my heart full. "We've been through so much, Susan, but we're stronger for it, and we're going to give this baby a wonderful life." We fall asleep that night, wrapped in each other's arms, dreaming of the future. The darkness of the past still lingers, but it's fading, replaced by the light of hope and love. The day our baby is born is the happiest day of my life. Holding our child in my arms, I feel a sense of completeness, of peace. We've been through hell, but we've come out the other side, stronger and more united. As I watch Susan holding our baby, I feel a deep sense of gratitude. We've faced our demons, and we've come out stronger. We've created something beautiful out of the pain and fear. And I know, no matter what happens, we'll face it together. Our life isn't perfect, but it's ours. We've built something strong, something lasting. We've learned to trust, to communicate, to love deeply, and that's what matters. As I look at Susan and our baby, I feel a sense of hope for the future. We've faced the darkness and found the light, and together, we'll keep moving forward, building a life filled with love and happiness. The journey has been hard, but it's brought us closer. We're not the same people we were before, but we're stronger, more resilient. We've learned to appreciate each other, to value the love we share. As the years pass, we continue to grow, to heal, to build a life filled with joy and love. We watch our child grow, teaching them the lessons we've learned, guiding them with love and understanding. And through it all, Susan and I remain united, facing each challenge together. We've built something beautiful out of the ashes of our past, and we're stronger for it. We've learned to trust, to communicate, to love deeply, and that's what matters. Our journey isn't over, but we're ready for whatever comes next. We've faced the darkness and found the light, and together we'll keep moving forward, building a life filled with love and happiness. The trial was a turning point, the culmination of our struggle, but it was also the beginning of something new, something beautiful. We've faced our demons, and we've come out stronger. We've created a life filled with hope, with love, with joy. And as I look at Susan and our child, I know we'll continue to face each challenge together, united by the love we share. We've built something strong, something lasting, and that's what matters. Our life isn't perfect, but it's ours. We've created something beautiful out of the pain and fear. And I know, no matter what happens, we'll face it together. The journey has been hard, but it's brought us closer. We're not the same people we were before, but we're stronger, more resilient. We've learned to appreciate each other, to value the love we share. As I look at Susan and our child, I feel a deep sense of gratitude. We've faced our demons and found the light, and together, we'll keep moving forward, building a life filled with love and happiness. Our journey isn't over, but we're ready for whatever comes next. We've faced the darkness and found the light, and together we'll keep moving forward, building a life filled with love and joy. Mark's trial is behind us, and we've moved forward, but the echoes of his threats still linger. One evening I come home to find a letter in the mailbox. There's no return address. I open it and read the message, my heart sinking. "Jack, did you really think it was over?" "There's more to come. Mark." I feel a cold sweat break out on my forehead. I show the letter to Susan, who turns pale. "What do we do?" she asks, her voice trembling. "We need to be prepared," I say, trying to sound confident. "We've faced him before, and we can do it again." I call Tom, and we meet at a cafe to discuss the letter. "He's in prison, Jack. How could he send this?" Tom asks, frowning. "Maybe he has someone on the outside helping him," I suggest. Tom nods. "That's possible. We need to find out who." We start investigating, digging into Mark's connections. It's a tense time, and Susan and I are constantly looking over our shoulders. I install new security measures at home, cameras and alarms. We can't take any chances. One night, the alarm goes off. I grab a bat and rush downstairs, my heart pounding. Susan follows, clutching her phone, ready to call the police. I scan the living room, but there's no sign of an intruder. I check the cameras and see a shadowy figure slipping away into the night. The police arrive and search the area but find nothing. "We'll keep an eye out," the officer says, but I can see the doubt in his eyes. As the days pass, we receive more letters. Each one is more threatening than the last. "I'm always watching," one reads. "You can't hide," says another. Susan is terrified, and I feel a growing sense of dread. We can't keep living like this. Tom calls with a lead. "I found someone who might be helping Mark. A guy named Paul. He's been visiting Mark in prison regularly." "Let's pay him a visit," I say, determined. We track Paul to a bar on the outskirts of town. Tom and I walk in, scanning the room. We spot him at a corner table, nursing a beer. We approach, and he looks up, surprised. "Paul, we need to talk," I say, my voice steady. He sneers. "What do you want?" "Messages from Mark. We know you're helping him," Tom says. Paul laughs. "So what if I am? What are you going to do about it?" I lean in, my anger boiling over. "If you don't stop, we'll go to the police. And you'll end up in prison right next to him." Paul's expression changes, and he looks uneasy. All right. I'll back off, but don't think this is over." We leave the bar, but I can't shake the feeling that this isn't the end. Paul might be scared, but Mark's reach extends far. We need to be vigilant. The next few weeks are tense. We don't receive any more letters, but I can't relax. I keep an eye on our surroundings, always on alert. Susan and I try to keep our lives normal, but the fear is always there. One night, as we're having dinner, Susan's phone rings. She answers, and I can see the fear in her eyes. She hands me the phone, and I hear Mark's voice on the other end. "Did you miss me, Jack?" I feel a surge of anger. "What do you want, Mark?" "I just wanted to remind you that I'm always here, watching, waiting." I hang up, my hands shaking. Susan looks at me, her eyes wide with fear. "What did he say?" "He's trying to scare us," I say, trying to stay calm. "We can't let him." I call Tom and update him on the situation. "We need to find out how he's contacting us from prison," I say. Tom agrees, and we start digging. It's a frustrating process, but we finally find a guard who's been helping Mark. We confront him, and he admits everything, agreeing to testify against Mark. With this new evidence, we go to the police. They launch an investigation and move Mark to a higher security prison, cutting off his outside contacts. I feel a sense of relief, but the tension remains. We've stopped Mark for now, but his shadow lingers. Susan and I decide to take a trip to clear our heads. We head to a secluded cabin in the woods, hoping to find some peace. It's beautiful and quiet, a perfect escape from the chaos. One night, as we're sitting by the fire, Susan leans against me. "I feel safe here," she says, her voice soft. I nod, holding her close. "Me too. We needed this." We make love that night, slow and tender, finding solace in each other. It's a brief escape from the fear, a reminder of the love we share. The next morning, we take a hike through the woods. The fresh air and beautiful scenery help clear our minds. We talk about the future, about starting over, and I feel a sense of hope. As we return to the cabin, I notice something strange. The door is slightly ajar. My heart races as I motion for Susan to stay back. I push the door open and step inside, scanning the room. Everything seems normal until I see the letter on the table. I pick it up, my hands trembling. "Jack, did you really think you could get away? I'm always watching. Mark." I feel a surge of anger and fear. "He's here," I say, turning to Susan. She looks terrified. "What do we do?" "We need to leave. Now." We grab our things and head to the car, my mind racing. How did he find us? I call Tom and tell him what happened. "Stay somewhere safe. I'll handle this," he says. We drive to a nearby town and check into a hotel, feeling a mix of fear and frustration. I can't believe Mark's reach extends this far. We're not safe anywhere. Tom calls later that night with good news. The police have arrested Paul and the guard who helped Mark. They've also moved Mark to solitary confinement. He won't be able to contact you anymore, Tom assures me. I feel a sense of relief, but the tension remains. We've stopped Mark for now, but the fear lingers. Susan and I decide to move again, this time to a place where Mark can't find us. We settle in a small town far from our previous life. It's quiet and peaceful, a perfect place to start over. We focus on rebuilding our lives, finding solace in each other. As the months pass, we start to feel normal again. The fear slowly fades, replaced by hope and love. We go on walks, have dinner dates, and talk about the future. We're healing, slowly but surely. One night, as we're sitting on the porch, Susan looks at me, her eyes filled with love. "We've come so far, Jack. I'm so grateful for you." I take her hand, squeezing it gently. We've faced so much, but we're stronger for it. We make love that night, passionate and intense, finding comfort in each other. It's a reminder of the love we share, the bond that's grown stronger through the trials we've faced. As the years pass, we continue to grow, to heal, to build a life filled with joy and love. We watch our child grow, teaching them the lessons we've learned, guiding them with love and understanding. And through it all, Susan and I remain united, facing each challenge together. We've built something beautiful out of the ashes of our past, and we're stronger for it. We've learned to trust, to communicate, to love deeply, and that's what matters. Our journey isn't over, but we're ready for whatever comes next. We've faced the darkness and found the light, and together we'll keep moving forward, building a life filled with love and happiness. As I look at Susan and our child, I feel a deep sense of gratitude. We've faced our demons and found the light. And together, we'll keep moving forward, building a life filled with love and joy. Our life isn't perfect, but it's ours. We've created something beautiful out of the pain and fear. And I know, no matter what happens, we'll face it together. The journey has been hard, but it's brought us closer. We're not the same people we were before, but we're stronger, more resilient. We've learned to appreciate each other, to value the love we share. As I look at Susan and our child, I feel a deep sense of gratitude. We've faced our demons and found the light. And together, we'll keep moving forward, building a life filled with love and happiness. Years have passed since Mark was finally put away for good. Susan and I have rebuilt our lives from the wreckage he left behind. The small town we moved to has become our sanctuary. It's a place where our past doesn't haunt us, and we've found peace. Our child, Emily, is now 5. She's the light of our lives, a constant reminder of the love that helped us survive. I watch her play in the yard, her laughter filling the air, and I feel an overwhelming sense of gratitude. We've come so far. One evening as the sun sets, Susan and I sit on the porch, watching Emily chase fireflies. The sky is painted in hues of orange and pink, and a cool breeze rustles the leaves. It's a perfect moment. Susan turns to me, her eyes soft. "We did it, Jack. We really did it." I nod, taking her hand. We faced the worst and came out stronger. I'm so proud of us. We sit in comfortable silence, reflecting on our journey. The fear and tension that once gripped us have faded, replaced by a deep sense of peace. We've learned to cherish these quiet moments, knowing how fragile they can be. Later that night, after Emily is tucked into bed, Susan and I lie in each other's arms. The room is dimly lit, and I can feel her warmth against me. We make love, slow and tender, a celebration of the bond that has grown stronger with each passing year. It's not just about physical pleasure, but a reaffirmation of our connection, our love. As we lie there, catching our breath, Susan whispers, "I love you, Jack, more than ever." I love you too, Susan. We've been through so much, but we have a beautiful life now. The next day, I head into town to run some errands. The townspeople know us well by now, and there's a sense of community that we didn't have before. I stop by the cafe where Tom and I used to meet, and the owner, Mary, greets me with a smile. "How's the family, Jack?" she asks, pouring me a coffee. "Good, Mary. We're doing really well," I reply, genuinely happy. As I leave the cafe, I notice a familiar face in the crowd. It takes me a moment to place him, but when I do, my heart skips a beat. It's Paul, the man who helped Mark. He looks different, older, but it's definitely him. I approach him, my heart racing. "Paul?" He turns and recognition flashes in his eyes. "Jack, I didn't expect to see you here." "What are you doing in town?" I ask, trying to keep my voice steady. "I moved here a few months ago. Wanted a fresh start," he says, looking uneasy. I nod, feeling a mix of emotions. "We've had our share of fresh starts." He sighs. "Look, Jack, I know I can't undo what I did, but I'm trying to change. I just want to live a normal life." I study him for a moment, searching for any sign of deception. But he seems sincere. "We all deserve a second chance," I say finally. He looks relieved. "Thank you. That means a lot." As I walk away, I feel a sense of closure. The past will always be a part of us, but it doesn't define us. We've learned to move forward, to build a life filled with love and hope. When I get home, Susan is in the garden with Emily. I join them, feeling a sense of contentment. We've faced our demons and found peace. Our life isn't perfect, but it's ours, and that's enough. That night, as we sit on the porch, Susan leans her head on my shoulder. "What are you thinking about?" she asks. "The future," I reply. "And how lucky we are to have this." She smiles. "We've come a long way, Jack. I'm grateful every day." We sit in silence, watching the stars twinkle above. The darkness of our past feels distant, replaced by the light of our present and the hope of our future. In the years that follow, we continue to grow, to heal, to build a life filled with joy and love. We watch Emily grow, teaching her the values we've learned, guiding her with love and understanding. Our journey isn't over, but we're ready for whatever comes next. As I look at Susan and Emily, I feel a deep sense of gratitude. We've faced our demons and found the light. And together, we'll keep moving forward, building a life filled with love and happiness. Our life isn't perfect, but it's ours. We've created something beautiful out of the pain and fear. And I know no matter what happens, we'll face it together.